What is up, my loves? It's your girl Diamond, and I'm back with my only review of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We have made it to the reunion. We know that the reunion did not air last week, so this past Sunday, the first part of the reunion has aired. And off rip, this first part wasn't bad. I just wish that we didn't spend 15 minutes during the unpleasantries. I really wasn't here for that. You know, all the ladies did arrive on set. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Portia is knocked out sleep. Everybody's starting to get their outfits and makeup and hair done. Kelly has her lame moment of getting her hair and makeup done by having her team wear shirts she had made by saying Kelly's glam team, because she wants to still put out there that Britt was so obsessed with her. Britt wanted her team. Now she can't have my team because my team reps for me. Kelly, Polly Pocket, you do not own your team. Your team has other clients that they work for. You do not own them. They don't belong to you. So for you trying to brand them by wearing shirts that says your name on it is lame as fuck. Move the fuck on from this. Phaedra was making her rounds to check on everybody. She decides to go to Britt's dressing room. Come to find out, Britt's dressing room is empty. We know she didn't make it to the reunion. And when she got to Portia's room, she's knocking. Portia finally wakes up. It's past 8:30. The reunion doesn't start till 9. So it's like, girl, wake up and get dressed. And she was telling her that Britt's not in her dressing room. Portia's like, you lying. I was just talking to her the other day. Pretty much just give her tips on how to handle the reunion. We all know it can be stressful. Let me try to call her. Sent straight to voicemail. And Portia gave her the advice of taking 3 magnesiums and she'll be fine. Phaedra was like, why would you do that? You're going to go straight to the bathroom and fall into a deep sleep. Hence why Portia was looking so lost that she forgot where she was. Oh, my God. So now having to rush to get ready. Drew finally makes it to the set, and she didn't get there till about 10 o'clock. So she took an additional hour and a half to get ready. And everybody did not come out on stage until 11 o'clock. They were 2.5 to 3 hours late. How are y'all late like this? Drew, like, what was going on in your household? Why are you late? I cannot, right? So Andy's continuing on with the same old speech about how he was super happy about how the season turned out. We've had 4 new peaches coming into the mix, and we've also had the return of an OG, and so on and so on. I am mad about this seating arrangement because this seating arrangement doesn't make any sense. Why is Drew seated last? She was a topic of conversation all season. And for the life of me, I can't understand why everybody claims to have an issue with Drew, but can't really explain what the issue is. I wished that she would have switched seats with Kelly, or better yet, Shamir, or moved to the opposite side of the couch. I really do. Andy let the girls know that Britt has decided not to come to the reunion. Everybody was surprised, especially Kelly. Kelly said that Britt caused mass destruction to the group. She likes to play villain and victim at the same time. It's like I can't disagree with that because Britt did do a lot. She did annoy me a lot. But towards the end of the season, she really didn't bother me as much. But also, you guys followed behind Britt when she was in her little villain role. Y'all supported her when she did all of those stupid things and lied. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like once it came down to the end, y'all switched up on her, and now you want to act like she's been the problem this entire time. You can miss me. Portia mentioned that she's spoken to Britt the night before, pretty much to let her know what can occur at the reunion and that her husband was coming, but it wasn't mentioned that she wasn't going to come to the reunion. She thought she was just running late. And everybody was ready to call out Britt for all the lies she's done, hold her accountable. And I understand as far as for Britt, do need to be held accountable, especially with the way she handled these with Kenya. That's the one thing I feel like she needs to be the most held accountable for, and the way she treated Angela. But as far as you, Kelly, and you, Shamia, I honestly don't give a shit. Drew received a text message from Britt maybe 2 weeks before to let her know that she's going to be ready to be sued by her, because apparently a blog was claiming that Drew knew about her pictures when it was presented at King's event. And apparently, from that time, she didn't receive anything. So I guess she should wait for her lawyers. I don't know if Britt is going to continue on the lawsuit. I think all of this happened during the time of filming for the show and the way that the season ended. Because just now, Britt wants to say that what was in the photos wasn't her, and that she's suing Bravo for the unfair environment that she was in. So Britt, you too trigger happy to want to set up lawsuits, but then I'm finding out that you're not following up with paying for the lawsuit to be presented, so you can just miss me with that. Shamia wanted to lead a nice prayer for everybody to have open hearts, open mind. And she also wanted to pray for Portia's cousin Londi, who recently passed, as well as Angela's mom, who recently passed. And Portia follows behind that to set her intentions for how she wants to handle this reunion. Talking about, I have healed, I have been on a journey, I am back to my old self again, and I want to address every single issue with the ladies, speak our truths, and move forward. Okay, sure. Continue on with knowing that Britt is not coming. They decided to bring Cynthia back out so that way she can fill in the seats, because usually friends of the show does not come out up until maybe the second or last part of the reunion. And as far as Cynthia having a friend role this season, I honestly really didn't enjoy her as a friend, because I don't think that she was neutral in a lot of situations. I feel like she only understood Portia's side of things, Portia's perspective, and just stood there. That's how I feel about Cynthia's role as a friend. Small segment about the men that are in Phaedra and Cynthia's lives. Cynthia's little man, Mr. Amsterdam, his name is not Amsterdam, his name is LaPrince. He's a MC, DJ, and a singer. He's 39 years old, fine. Shaq, who was Phaedra's sometimes man, sometimes not. He's 32, fine. Moving on. So as we're entering into Portia's not so glamorous return, which is us seeing her file for divorce, Simon not allowing her to film in her home, and her causing an issue with Drew over her working with Dennis, and the sudden passing of her cousin Londi. At the end of the season, we saw one scene of Portia at her home just for us to see her in her home. Whatever. I don't know why Andy is hyping up as if we've seen her inside her home all season when we didn't. And it's not even that serious for us to see at this point. It's not even interesting enough for us to see, because there's no point. But she's saying that the home was very important to her because when she met Simon, she fell in love with him. They was ready to just drive off into the sunset, not worry about the paperwork. So as far as wondering who is the actual owner of the home, prior to them getting married, Simon purchased the home, but somehow in their prenuptial agreement, it became marital property, which is why she was able to get it out of the divorce. Now, as far as what she'll do with the home, she doesn't know. It's up to her to keep it or sell it. And it's been a lot for her to deal with, and her process of going through the divorce is taking it day by day, especially with being in a phantom divorce, meaning you think it's coming to an end, but then something else comes out, you're back at square one. She references Kelly by saying she's been through the same thing. At first, Kelly and Drew didn't understand who she was talking to, and Kelly said she could be talking about me, but our divorces aren't the same. And the question about him being detained in ICE, yes, he is detained in ICE, but she doesn't want to talk about him. And people were speculating if she called ICE on him. She said it wouldn't benefit her if she does. Well, you didn't really benefit anything at all in the marriage, except for having 16 weddings and all that stuff, but whatever. Phaedra backed it up by saying it's an immigration issue. He doesn't have legal citizenship here. And we get to Shamia, who's been advocating for this relationship. Gerald and Simon were cool with one another. They would take couple trips and all that jazz. Shamia wanted to say that she did have a conversation with Portia about making sure she's doing it right. Is this a guy you want to be with? Is it for real? Is all his money real? Is he a scammer? Are all the rumors about him true? Did you dispel them? Portia repeated exactly what she and Shamia talked about, and she said that their prenup pretty much took almost 9 months based off of what was being said about him. And then to say that due diligence was paid. Not really. What did you gain from it? And I feel like you had already discovered what this man was before you married him. And after you discovered who he was, you still married him. Saw how he treated Fallon, you didn't care. Still married him. This man was a walking red flag and you ignored it because you wanted the lifestyle that you saw Fallon was living in. Good night. And what is the reason why she decided to divorce him? To say that there were a lot of untruths in the marriage that could have endangered her, not physically, but some things could have tied her that she didn't want to be involved in. Meaning she wanted to get out while she could before she was legally tied to this man. No, moving on. So a fan asked Kelly, were you asking out of concern or were you being messy when you wanted to know why that she's still that lady's husband? Kelly lied and say that it was out of concern, but it wasn't, Kelly. Keep it a buck. Stand on why you said what you said. Give the reason why you said what you said. Because even in your confessional, when it was the first episode, I think, you dealt with infidelity in your marriage. You don't value women who doesn't understand what it means to be a wife, who doesn't understand that it hurts a woman to know you slept with her husband. Remember? You don't rock with being around women like that, and you want to know, is she the type of woman that will be completely okay with sleeping with another woman's husband? Remember that, Kelly? So out of concern is a crock of bullshit, and Portia called it out like she should, because how was it that you didn't even get to know me? You didn't even knew my name, basically. You just wanted to yell that out before actually having a conversation and get to know somebody. So that was not out of concern. And did you get the answer you was looking for? Kelly said, do I believe that you loved him? Yes. Was it real? No. Then Portia wanted to compare what she's dealing with as the same as what Kelly's dealing with. How they've had woman-to-woman conversations about how our husbands has been treating us. They have been blasting us online, revealing information about our marriage and all that stuff. And Kelly stopped in and said, first of all, for what I dealt with, you didn't deal with. I was married for 11 years. You were married for 11 months. Clock it. So let's not compare apples to peaches, okay? Because it's not the same. And I agree with Kelly. You married a man you didn't know. Kelly knew her husband. She has had kids with her husband. She has lived life with him, experienced things with him. You barely experienced anything with Simon. So it's not the same. While they were going back and forth, Kelly is admitting that they did have a conversation, but don't make it seem as if that me and you dealt with the same thing. And here go Portia. So my divorce don't count. My marriage don't count. No, it don't, Portia. Your marriage don't count because you didn't know this man. And when things got hot, you left. Obviously, Kelly been through years with this man and finally decided to leave after all the shit he put her through. And this is another thing. Watching them go back and forth about who pretty much had the worst marriage and all that stuff, nobody's giving that same understanding and sympathy towards Drew. Kelly, you was in that boat too, not understanding what she was going through. And I just don't like that. Then Portia wants to say that me and you both left our marriage for financial reasons. Kelly had a real reason for leaving her marriage, because she left for being physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially abused, Portia. Okay? And I don't think that Portia wants to hear Kelly's point because it's not the same. What did you actually deal with Simon? And then I don't think that Portia wants to talk about it. That's the whole thing. She just wants sympathy for what she's dealing with, but she doesn't want to talk about what she was dealing with. And it's like, girl, please get out of my face with this shit. To talk about how I was fighting for my life. Kelly was literally fighting for her life, sleeping in closets and shit. Get the fuck out of here with that. Please, Portia, go, go, go. Now we're moving on to another question to Portia. How do you go from talking about stealing another woman's husband, and then you want to go and say, I should fuck Charles? So she apologized to Angela, but then she wanted to make it seem as if what she said was after what Angela said about why did she take that lady's husband. Angela cleared it by saying, no, you brought in something about Charles first. So in Nashville, that's when I mentioned, why did you take that lady's husband? Let's not start in the middle, Portia. Let's start in the beginning. At Angela's bake dinner, you did want to throw out there that you know something about Charles. So we're back to the same question. Why did you steal that lady's husband? Okay? And then Shamia was brought in by Angela when she said that Shamia told me that she introduced you to Simon. Shamia is instantly denying that she never introduced her to him and that never happened. Angela's recalling it from when they were in Nashville. She said, no, I did not say that. I said I support their relationship. I love them as a couple. They look great together. Watching Shamia defend that she didn't introduce them, Portia's on mute. She ain't saying nothing. Then it was a simple question asked to Portia. Did Shamia introduce her to Simon? Crickets. She took a gulp. She took a pause. Now she's about to come up with a lie. What's the lie about? So again, denying that she didn't introduce them. It's a flashback when they were in Nashville. She said that she was there when they met. She was there from the start of their relationship, and she didn't care about the optics. So my thing is, Shamia doesn't want to be included in the fact that she helped her single friend take another woman's husband. Considering the fact that Shamia is a married woman herself, she don't want to be in that type of conversation. So Shamia doesn't want this to be dragged out. Angela wants her to answer the question, did you say that or not? So Andy asked her about it, but he also mentioned that Portia took a pause. So now he's putting the pieces together and is wondering, did you guys come up with this story about how she introduced y'all so that way it wouldn't be about you creeping up in his DMs? Ding, 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 we have our answer. But let's not forget, when it was them having their time in this love wins, love bubble that they had, Portia pretty much thanked Shamia in one of her posts by saying best matchmaker ever. I think it's on Campfire. Go check out Campfire, because somebody gave him that post about at the time where Portia and Shamia were pretty much creating this story. Came up with this story, so whenever it was to come out about how they met, it was through Shamia. I can't even be surprised anymore, because Shamia and Portia are the exact type of person. They are known to be liars. We've seen it for ourselves. And the fact that they have probably lied for each other throughout their course of their friendship. To see that Shamia, a very happily married woman, would create a plan with her best friend in order for her to not receive the heat that she definitely deserved for getting involved with another woman's husband. That makes no sense whatsoever. And Portia, the kitchen was getting hot for her that she just took a breath and just gave off this this sorry ass statement to say, okay, look, see, I got introduced to him. I was happy that I got him, and now I'm divorced, and I gave him back. Let's just move on. Move on to what, Portia? Ain't that the whole reason why you decided to return onto the show? But consider the fact that you couldn't give us what you promised. This glamorous lifestyle of you being a Nigerian wife, and you got your African king, and that fell to pieces. So now you were scrambling, trying to find something else to bring, and you went after Drew for no reason. Because you just don't want to keep it a buck and admit that you got involved with another woman's husband. I think you might even get a sliver of respect if you just admitted it. I think that's it. And the fact that you keep going through the same song and dance just to keep up this image that that's not what happened, I just can't take it anymore. I cannot. And I wish that more time was spent on this, because this is what we've been waiting for. This was an actual storyline that we actually wanted to see unfold, because she's been hiding from it for so long. There's no point now. The marriage is over. Why be secretive about how you got involved with him? Why? It's over. You're not together, right? No. And then we just spent majority of the rest of her segment to talk about her cute moments with Dennis, and her and Dennis look cute together. Should they get back together? Should they give Pilar a sibling? Here go Portia. Dennis is such a jewel. He's such an angel. And that's why I was so protective of our co-parenting relationship, that I needed to have my co-parent while I was going through such a difficult time. We didn't see that. We saw you question him about why he's working with Drew. You weren't using him as somebody to look for support. You only needed him so that way he can check for this au pair that you hired. What? Then her and Kelly go back and forth about the mukbangs that she's had with Dennis, all up in her and Simon's house, and da-da-da-da. And Portia told her, well, that's my house. I mean, where's your house? You left your house, right? Kelly said, I did leave my house. Well, why'd you leave your house? Because I wanted to. Well, you could have had a better prenup. I don't know. Portia was super heightened in that moment to check Kelly, and it's just like, I cannot. So Drew was asked a question about her stance of believing that Portia's return was a flop. And does she still stand on it? Because it was a flashback of her being on a podcast where she admitted that Portia's return was a flop. She promised to give y'all 16 carriages, her glamorous life of being an African wife, and she didn't deliver it. And said that there could have been plenty of other things we could have talked about in regards to Portia's life, but she chose to attack me all season. True. Portia thought she ate by returning the shade of her having a flop return, believing that Drew should be concerned about who Ralph is flip-flopping in the basement. Yeah, fail. Drew says, Simon says you have no storyline. Period, point blank. Because I don't know what you thought you were going with that. How is that hurting Drew? She's going through a divorce right now. More and more is telling me how Portia is super dismissive over other people's feelings because she's so concerned about hers. Self-absorbed, selfish, all that and then some. And then to say that Dennis was always a part of her storyline and that Drew knew it and that's why she wanted to come in the middle. The lies you tell. How did she come into the middle? You didn't start using Drew and... How did she come into the middle? You didn't start using Dennis until it benefited you. And then you saw the attention that Drew was getting from her actual storyline because she was actually creating music, and Dennis was a part of that. He did exactly produce her album. So, however you try to make it up in your head, it wasn't wrong for Drew and Dennis to work together. Make it make sense. You want that attention and you question him why he's working with her, get out of my face with that. Now, as far as her, no. So, when it came down to Drew continuing to work with Dennis after feeling, no. So as far as Drew continuing to work with Dennis after knowing how Portia felt, why do it? She says she's doing her music. However the cameras catch me is how they catch me. They have never caught me having a separate conversation with Dennis, talking about Portia, disrespecting Portia. That has never happened. I know a lot of people are really trying to hold Drew's word against her from the first episode that she talked about Dennis being an angel, Dennis being that support system, that they was reading in between the lines that there's something more than that. Yes, her bad choice of words, but obviously later down the line, we literally saw just a friendship and a business arrangement. Nothing else happened. So asking Portia, did she really believe that Drew was sleeping with Dennis for beats? Now they're all going to be like, oh no, we wasn't thinking that. We never wanted to think that. No. So Shamia calls out Portia and was like, I thought you said he showed you a text message. Portia wants to act dumb as if she doesn't know how she started this whole thing by assuming that Drew was flirting with Dennis, soliciting her body for beats to have a good album, and claims that she doesn't know what Drew sent, but can conveniently only remember what Dennis responded about how, oh, I wouldn't fuck with you, I just want my money, but it's still not clear. It's still up in the air. Because we don't have the phone, so where are the messages, as Drew said, and how very convenient how you don't have the messages, because Ralph apparently heard a different story. So something's not clean over here, and she doesn't have the messages. She doesn't have the phone. So how convenient that this all started from what you assumed and have carried out this entire season, that Drew was soliciting her body for beats and all this and that and the third, while we're here at the reunion, you can't even provide actual receipts. But we know that Dennis is going to be on the second part, so we hear what he had to say. And Drew said, this is a business that I operate. This isn't on some homie hookup type shit. Studio time is not free, it's being paid for. And we're seeing the proof. All Drew did was create music. We see her drop her album. It's going really well. It's hitting top numbers. She's going on tour. So proof was given. She was working with Dennis in a professional manner. So I don't understand why we have a back and forth about Portia trying to prove something else when we're seeing it clear as day. So Drew's like, we don't have to talk. You look like a fool right now. And I want Cynthia to shut the fuck up. For her to want to come in and want to check Drew about how could she allow this narrative to take away all the work she did for her music. Cynthia, sit down. Stay quiet like you've been. I swear to God, all you've ever done is cape for Portia, cape how Portia feels. You've never saw things from both perspectives, and I don't understand why. Because you killed him with this whole baby daddy's hit different type shit. And as far as Portia want to keep denying that she did not know Drew and Dennis were working together, Drew said, we talked about it at my birthday party, and we've all seen how Drew has been trying multiple times to address it with Portia. She's been ignoring her. She was living her African princess life, not checking on her friends, not receiving any messages, all that and then some. It was not concerning you that she was working with Dennis. If Simon was still in the picture, she wouldn't give a damn. Now that Simon's not in the picture, she got to fall back to Dennis, because that's something that she could easily fall back to. You want to keep tabs on who he's dating, keep tabs on who he's working with, but you don't own him. He's not yours. He's just your baby daddy. He can do whatever he wants to do, and it's not affecting Pilar. Now, we see Drew taking accountability with how she handled it, but Portia has not taken accountability with how she handled it, because she's the one who created this whole thing from jump. Y'all saw from the first episode, she wanted to break the fourth wall. So keep on over talking her by saying working with him wasn't the issue. It's the filming. The filming shouldn't fucking matter. I don't understand why filming is such a personal problem for you. It doesn't make any sense. I'm so lost upon about how that's so inappropriate. I'm so lost about how that's backstabbing when you knew she was working with him. You knew that. Make it make sense. And Drew even said it. I'm seeing that you keep on pivoting every time we get to the real issue. Because what is the real issue? Even in the studio, you were talking to him on the phone. How could you act like you're not aware that he's working with me, but yet you're talking to him in the studio? Make it make sense. So everybody's chiming in about what Drew needs to do and da 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 da. So without fail, Lassie wants to come in, defend her owner by saying Portia didn't know. And Drew is like, girl, go sit on Portia's lap. Go ahead. Go beg for a begging strip. Do it, please. Because Shamea is taken aback about how she's receiving this energy. And it's kind of like, I don't know why, Shamea, you've been giving this energy all season. And she was like, I asked you that because I wanted to know if you and Dennis were dating. But when I met up with you and Angela at the gym, it was like, it got back to y'all that I was asking you if you were fucking Dennis. Shamea, I don't care how you try to clean it up. The energy you had was given, are you fucking Dennis? And I don't care if it's dating, effing, I feel like it's in the same tone. You wanted to know if there was more going on between them. Period, point blank. And Angela said, I didn't like the way you asked her because I feel like you asked for Portia. And Portia told you to leave it alone. Portia admitted it, that she didn't want to talk about it. She said she'll handle it. The way that she threw Shamea under the bus and allowed for her to drown because of the question that Portia knew she was going to ask, she didn't even come to her best friend's defense as to why she thought it was cool for her to ask that question. Nope. Stay mute, stay quiet. And now we're seeing the two of them, besties, go back and forth exposing each other's lies about how Portia knew that Shamea was going to ask that question. Portia wanted to be like, oh, I didn't know you were going to ask her that question. We see that Shamea desperately wants approval from Portia. And the way that Portia repeated by saying, I'm going to ask her if she's fucking Dennis. That's what I'm going to ask her. And Portia didn't want her to ask her. She wanted to be based off the filming. But it's given to me though, Portia, you and Shamea had a discussion about what could occur between the two of them without actually having proof. Nothing else has given you reason that that Drew and Dennis were doing anything else but creating music. That you wanted Shamea to ask that question. You want to now remove yourself from being a part of that conversation. Hence why Shamea is calling you out about how you knew I was going to ask you. So the way that you want to keep the conversation about filming, that's when Shamea revealed that, wait, they didn't even attempt to film until later on. So, ding, 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 there it is. Drew has never spoken about filming with Dennis that first episode. So the fact that Portia wanted to create something that she assumed was happening wasn't even happening. Now I'm wondering, did you guys make up the rumor about how there were photos or videos of Dennis and Drew out in the club wearing matching outfits? Did y'all come up with that shit too? Let me know. So considering that throughout this entire season, nothing happened between Dennis and Drew. So that's why Shamea now wants to come in and say, I asked you because I wanted to know it was an innocent question. It's bullshit. I don't believe you. So now with Portia wanting to continue to plead her case about not talking bad about Drew, not talking bad about her music or her brand, because she did say it was good music. Drew does have a good album out. And now she wants to add the shade that Drew recently threw about her gold naked hair. Drew called it and said, girl, don't play victim. You've been talking about me all season. You've been talking about me, about my music. The moment that I have a reaction and call you out, don't cry about it. Don't poke the bear. The bear's not going to poke back, period. So even watching the entire season, do you believe you owe Drew an apology? Portia took a pause, and then she gets up, very dramatic, walks up to Drew, grabs her hand, but first she says, are we in our light? Then goes back to her seat and instantly apologized for meeting with Ralph. She did it to be petty, which we all knew. To me, that also calls out Shamea, that Shamea was a part of that plan of setting up that meeting for Ralph. And Portia just threw her out there to the wolves. Portia said that she was being petty by meeting up with Ralph. She said that this is also a part of me setting my intentions. Because in that moment, I thought I was justified for meeting up with Ralph, but I didn't even feel right after the situation. And this could have been a conversation that we could have sat down and talked about. Exactly, but you ran all season. Drew has been trying to talk to you. She's been trying to link up with you. Then you want to bring up the whole thing about I'm going through divorce, you're going through a divorce. I swear to God, none of these ladies on stage, except for Angela, cared about what Drew was going through when it came to her divorce. So Drew talks about her first time being a housewife. Yes, the wigs weren't wigging, Portia was the first person that called her, gave her advice. She appreciated the advice. She was there for everything. So as far as how Portia helped her, she's always appreciated it. So she's letting her know, I've always appreciated the help you gave me, the knowledge you blessed upon me. But considering the fact that coming back to this season, for you to attack me the way that you did, and we're in this space, I never wanted us to be in this space. I never want us to be in a super negative place where we cannot come back from. And I don't believe shit what Portia's talking about as far as like she was in fight mode. She was triggered every time she saw Drew and that she is healing. That's all cap and bullshit, because it can't even be that damn serious for you to come at her the way you did. Assuming that she was soliciting her body for music and not having good talent, all this and the third. It's just not necessary. No. I hope that while Drew probably appreciated the apology, she doesn't trust her again. I hope that. So now we get into Kelly's segment. I don't know if there's going to be more about Kelly's segment towards the next parts, because majority of this was about her and Britt's friendship and what went wrong. Because they were inseparable and then it all changed, and it was all due to a fucking glam squad. And it's just crazy to me that this situation got so deep for no reason. Now, Kelly wants to brag on the fact that she's always had a glam team. She did not get one for the sake of the show, and she was always a friend to Britt, and Britt had a hard time finding a stylist, so she decided to extend her team to her. Never thought that she would have used her team for the entirety of the season. So it's kind of like, damn, do you want my life? I don't know where in your world, Polly Pocket, maybe in Polly's world, that her using your team is equivalent into wanting to have your life. Y'all had different lives. Obviously, y'all didn't have the same outfits. Y'all have different body types, different heights, you know what I'm saying? Different body features. Like, y'all weren't matching. Like, I don't understand. Nobody was making Britt look like you. Literally, nobody was. I'm trying to understand that. Hell, Britt had more better outfits than you. Maybe that's why you were mad. So when it came down to using her team, yeah, she paid for the services for her team. Then she also said that Britt paid for the services for the team. Okay, so it wasn't you footing the bill, like it's been said. Britt did what she did. Pay for the people the way she wanted to pay them. Pay them when she wanted to use them. So Portia, who has spoken to Britt, and is not trying to speak up for Britt or speak for her, but she will repeat what she has spoken to Britt about. And it's pretty much the breakdown of their friendship, and that Britt thought that it might have been some jealousy between the two of them, and that could have been a conversation that could have squashed out at the reunion. Kelly would have agreed to that. But then she says that jealousy is far from the truth, because there is nothing that Britt has that she wants, but you have the assumption that she wants your life. Kelly, you should have just stayed true and admitted that you felt some type of way about your team having Britt look better than you. Your team enjoyed working with her more, and you felt the way about it. But if you were going to be, again, this territorial, this possessive over a glam team, you should have never offered them. Goes back to you. And then Portia continues on with what Britt talked to her about, that in the beginning of the season, there was an alliance made with the new girls, Shamia, Kelly, and Britt. And the whole point of this alliance was to take Portia down. Now, they had a conversation at Houston's, and everything kind of shifted when they got to Grenada, especially with the way that Kelly called her, especially with the way that Kelly called her out about how she did not do a proper donation. And that's when she pretty much discovered she was kicked out of the alliance. And she didn't feel quite comfortable with continuing on, which is probably why she wanted to inform Portia about what's been said in this alliance. Now, this is news. So Shamia did admit that there was an alliance, but Portia was involved in it. Portia said I was. How did I get in it? Because I feel like from the first episode, I think that's when the alliance was created. Remember, Shamia wanted to tell Kelly and Britt to get to know Portia for themselves. Don't go off about what social media have said. Like, ease up on her, okay? So I think that's when the alliance was formed. But it's laughable from Portia to say that alliances kill shows. She doesn't ever want to be a part of alliances. Portia, you're in the alliance right now. Frick meet frack. Remember, y'all came up to go against Candy? And I think, didn't you come up with an alliance to come after Nene? Make it make sense for me. So, we're going back to Kelly on how she definitely followed behind Britt when it came down to Angela. But Kelly doesn't look at it as her being an enabler with follow behind Britt when she had her auntie. She talks about it was being a friend. That's not a friend. That's being a follower, Kelly. Because even with her apologizing to Angela about the comment she made about what about that baby though, that was due to you just wanting to follow behind any issues because you've never tried to form any actual connections with Angela. To say that it just didn't mesh, I don't believe you. You did the same thing to Drew, and I'm still trying to understand what you said when you guys were in Grenada, that everybody has an issue with her, but I need to know what was the issue. So Kelly, you were being a follower. You were pretty much, I guess, keeping up with the alliance, because remember, Shamia was a part of that alliance too. So when she had her problem with Drew, you followed behind her. When she was in her space with Portia, you followed behind that too. But that's somebody that I wouldn't want to trust, because how do you have your own mind for yourself to get to know somebody without following behind somebody else's perceptions? And how is that the alliance didn't include Angela? She's a new girl, but y'all figured because Drew came in and y'all were more closer, it made more sense for y'all to be in an alliance, but they weren't in an alliance. They were just being friends. So we get into the dark moment between Kelly and Britt, where Britt blurted out that Kelly might have had abortions. And Kelly said that that was never a conversation she had with Britt. That conversation was had with her stylist in a private matter. That was repeated incorrectly to Britt to go back to hurt her. And she continued on with saying that right after she had her twins, which I believe she said she had a difficult pregnancy, whereas her twins were born with brittle bones disease. And at that moment decided not to have any more children. So she decided to have her tubes tied. So she couldn't even have a baby even if she tried. And now she is worried about having a conversation with her daughters about what abortions are. And she's not ready to have that conversation. If you didn't have one, I don't think it should have been a hard conversation to have. I'm aware that this is a sensitive topic to discuss. Your daughters are growing up, especially your oldest. I do believe that they are at that age where they are to have already learned about the birds and the bees and how babies are formed and what happens when you get pregnant. I would assume those are conversations you are automatically going to have with your daughters anyway. But for me, I feel like, why are you trying to put the dramatics that you have to have this conversation? You're going to have this conversation anyway. You're raising girls. Like you said, you're raising 4 black, beautiful daughters. These are obvious conversations you're going to have anyway. So why are you trying to make it seem as if you need to have this conversation now? To me, Kelly didn't answer the question. To me, Kelly put on the dramatics. I think she tried to play the sympathy card, because to put emphasis on how she dealt with having her twins who has a disease with their bodies breaking so easily. I understand how that is a lot to deal with. Playing a sympathy card for that matter is something that I'm not really vibing with. So, and again, Kelly, I feel like if this is a conversation you're not ready to have on camera, you don't have to have it. But let's not forget, you threw out there that Britt was a pill popper. That is a tough conversation she might need to have with her family as to why that came out. So you're not the only one who has to have difficult conversations. I just feel like Kelly's putting on the dramatics, and I'm not really feeling it, because I sympathize with her about what she was going through with her divorce. But when it comes to this, she still dodged the question. She didn't answer it. But when you put your life on reality TV, you got to come up with the answers as to what we see. If we have questions about what we see, you got to answer them. But moving on from there, congratulations to Kelly. She has been officially divorced. And how much did you have to spend to get divorced? She said $200,000. Phaedra in the background, you got off cheap. So I don't know how many of the ladies have felt weirded out about Kelly with her bodyguard, but Portia feels like we know the reason why she has one, but we also have discovered there could be 2 reasons why she has one. We know she's afraid of her ex, but it could also be for her using it for the show. Now, Kelly, thinking that she ate down with this iconic line that Portia said, because she was like, well, in the words of Portia, who told you that? That's not the line. Kelly, it's who said that? That's the line. But then Drew revealed that Ralph got a call from Kelly's ex-husband. And then it flashes back to Ralph in the basement with his daddy apron on. I don't want to see Ralph. And it's like, this man will do anything and everything to still be a part of reality TV, to still have his time, to still have his shine, and I cannot. And knowing that Ralph is friends with Martell, he's creating his own support group of husbands who has been used, abused, and abandoned and taken for granted. I can already see it, okay? And I don't have time. Why are we giving Ralph all of this attention? Why? Anyway, so as far as how has everything come about as to why she has her bodyguard and the whole restraining order, she said you cannot get a restraining order without cause. Now, Portia and Phaedra are having their own little discussion by saying, yes, you can, right? You can get a restraining order for anything, right, in Georgia. So before Kelly can even finish, Phaedra jumps in and says, actually, you can't get a restraining order for any reason whatsoever. If the person that you want to get the restraining order against and he has not come to the court to defend the case, then you could easily have a restraining order granted. Okay. So Kelly, I don't know if she responded to that or I can't remember. So Kelly feels like, you think that I would rather use all my money to not pay for a bodyguard and pay all my bills? You must be crazy. I understand as far as the safety that Kelly has been in fear of, because let's not forget, the man did threaten her in court. That's why he went to jail. The man has been avoiding paying child support. So I don't think that Kelly is lying about how she has to make sure that everybody around her is safe, including her and her daughters. But as far as you saying that you'll rather pay for your security guard and not your bills, that's a problem. I'm sorry, Kelly. I don't think that that's much of a flex for you to say you'll put all your money into paying for a bodyguard and not your bills, ma'am. Then we get to Kelly's financial woes, which is a bit suspect. And the lawsuit that was set against her for unpaid rent and late fees, that was about over $100,000. Yes, she admitted it was for that reason. And she said that they received a good sum of money. I don't know how much that means. Is that the full payment? And what was the holdup of why you couldn't pay it? Because she was over $200,000 in attorney fees. Now, Kelly, I understand. You know what I'm saying? Money can be tight in certain places, but the way you try to present your money, how can you not get a balance on making sure that your attorney fees is set aside as well as paying for unpaid late fees? And we are still awaiting for the new location for Nana's Chicken and Waffles. Will it be open? Now, somebody wants to ask Kelly a question. Do you think that you're overdoing it with your expenses? You know, with your dog treatments, you buying Chloe all these designer handbags. Should your money be more invested into your business than your dog, than Cha-Cha? She said that they are necessary because Cha-Cha lives a fabulous life. Man, Kelly, I'm telling you, your dog does not need to be painted and dyed and spotted with stripes. Your dog does not need fake lashes. Your dog does not need rhinestones in her ears. She doesn't need all of that. Just buy her food, get her simple grooming treatments, and save all that money for your business. So when is the location coming? She said it should be by the summer. Kelly, you becoming the new Sheree 2.0, I'm telling you. Because it's so crazy how your money is funny when it comes to paying for things you need to pay for, like your business, like your bills. But you seem to have money just free for everything. That's a problem. The way that everybody came at Britt, that she's not as rich as she tries to make herself out to be, her flexing like she's buying jets, buying cars when she's not buying anything. You're doing the exact same thing, Kelly. You got lawsuits out. And there's another lawsuit from the credit card company that you owe, what, $26,000? Girl, you need to get a handle on this because people going to say your money is funny. They're going to say you're not living up to your means either. Are you living beyond your means? Let us know. So, Shamia and Kelly's relationship did become closer. Does Shamia think that she might have stirred the pot in regards of their relationship and not try to mediate it? She said she was trying to mediate it because she wanted to understand how she can fix it and see if she can mend it. I don't believe you, Shamia. The whole thing about how you caught a stray, no, you didn't catch a stray. You were called out because of your lies. That's why. And you weren't trying to mediate Britt and Kelly. You were trying to tell Britt what she wasn't doing right. Kelly says that she was great friends with Britt and she did a lot for her. She wanted to help her look like she was successful. And then Drew clocked in and was like, what do you mean? You don't know she's successful? Do you not know how she makes her money? No, I don't know how she makes her money. That's interesting. Were you not paying attention? Like, you didn't give a damn about this friendship, Kelly. I feel like when things got tough, when it came down to Britt's name circulating in bad areas, you decided to jump ship. It's evident Kelly did do a lot for Britt, and it wasn't reciprocated. That's obvious. I don't take that away from Kelly because we saw it for ourselves. But I feel like it only led that way because you wanted to embarrass her about the donations, and you never had a full, honest conversation about how you wanted her to be there for you. I felt you had sneaky intentions from the jump to watch how Britt moved with the girls. And until you saw that she wasn't the person you needed to connect yourself with, that's when you decided to slowly back away and connect more with Shamia. So now we finally get to Angela's segment, and it's the last 5 minutes of the reunion, and we're trying to get to the culprit of who set Angela up. Who sent Marcus to Angela to tell her about Charles? Who did it? Now, as far as, is it such a coincidence that Phaedra knows who Marcus is? Phaedra said she doesn't know him, so she was like, you want me to give you my receipts? She said, please, give me the receipts. She brings out this manila folder. I think she was probably showcasing Marcus's Facebook account, and she recognized who he was friends with. He's friends with Phaedra's older brother, excuse me. And that they all went to high school together. He knows his aunt. And of course, Athens is a very small town. There's only 3 middle schools and 2 high schools, courtesy of Phaedra. And Angela wants to know, like, how could it be somebody that your family is connected with just happens to want to tell me this information? But Phaedra has that look on her face where she doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't know that man. I don't know this woman. And it's like, it wasn't like he instantly wanted to give me your name. He wanted to put it off on Kelly, put it off on other people. So now they're trying to come in and protect Phaedra and call out that Angela is not being consistent. She's lying to cover up her tracks, that she doesn't know exactly who said Marcus. She has her sights set on Phaedra, like she wants Phaedra to take the fall for this. But it's kind of like, why would Phaedra come after Angela? And even though Phaedra wants to still defend the fact that she's on there for 10 days, she had a whole lot of smoke for Angela for no reason. So Phaedra believes that Angela told him to say Phaedra's name, like you rehearsed him to say my name. No, because he doesn't even know her. He doesn't know her. Angela doesn't know him. So make it make sense. I don't understand. Then Angela says she's trying to secure her spot for the next season. Now, Phaedra thought she was doing her big one by saying, I have a guaranteed contract. My contract is clear. What does that mean? And how many seasons were you approved of to come back? While you probably have a guaranteed contract, you still got to do your part and work. Does that mean that nothing can happen to you? Nobody can ask you any questions, but you can come out here and ask everybody all types of invasive questions. You can come in and start a whole bunch of mess, be a confessional gangster. Like, what is it? Knowing that you only came back because Candy left and King is not here. You were benched for several years. So Portia came in and said, I believe she had nothing to do with it. Now, Angela called out Portia for this. She's like, you know what I find alarming about you, Portia, is because you are just so eager to believe anything that she says, believe that everything she says is true after what she put you through. And then you told her that I set this up. Why would you say that? She said the whole thing is silly with him lying and bringing up Junebug and Beetle and all this and the third. Like, what happened? This isn't real. Okay, the guy is real. The information about him is real. So where's the lie? And that's where it ended off. Because my thing is, as much as everybody wanted to say that Phaedra definitely didn't do this and maybe she could have did this, I feel like Portia and Phaedra probably had something to do with it, because it is such a coincidence that this guy targeted Angela and told her about Charles, and that Phaedra knew about him, told Angela what she knows about him. And even though this guy Marcus, he's all over social media, making up more lies as he goes on all these different platforms, saying how he told Phaedra it was this, told that, told this. We've heard the audio about how he told us it was Phaedra. Like, she came up to him before they got into their scene. Like, it's a lot of things that pinpoints to Phaedra, but I feel like he probably wanted to set this up because it's easy to pinpoint to Phaedra, because Phaedra is the type that would do something like this. I don't believe Angela had anything to do with it. Why? This is her first season. After being asked multiple times to be on this show, why would she ever put her marriage in jeopardy when she's fighting so hard to protect it? Make it make sense. And I don't believe that. So, as far as the receipt part, Angela, I can understand if you're trying to connect the family link, but as far as anything else that could have tied Marcus to Phaedra, there was no sufficient evidence. It's all circumstantial, not going to hold up, but maybe more will come out in the second part. But that was pretty much it. Again, I said it before, this first part wasn't bad. Hopefully we'll get more. Hopefully more will come out. But y'all, that's all I have. Please stay tuned for my next video, and I'm going to see you guys later. Bye.